The final thing we're going to talk about tonight is the possibility of a government via coalition. Because how it stands right now is if the Conservative government picked up a minority government, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens might be in the position where if they pooled their votes together, they could form their own majority government and pass legislation. I know that Elizabeth May has come out in support of the idea of a government via coalition with Trudeau as the leader, I believe. But this is really an interesting time because I don't think we've really been in a position like this before.
Yeah, this has a lot of people excited, I think, on the political left. Yeah, of course, because first off, historically, you have the Liberals playing mostly center, so there'll be some considerations to the further left, of course, but
legalizing marijuana, investments in infrastructure, what have you.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And some obvious sort of things towards unions and all that.
Yes, that's true.
Though not nearly as protectionist in many cases.
Yeah.
But there's also the
trade.
Other side where historically that also means compromising more with the right. So watering down stuff to be more appetizing to the conservatives. Mm-hmm. If you do have a coalition of NDP and Liberal, however, you would...
I've always said that my ideal scenario would be a Liberal minority government with the NDP as the official opposition, where the Liberals would have to have the NDP support to pass legislation.
Yeah.
Because that would actually keep them a left-wing check, as opposed to a more moderate right-wing check.
Mm-hmm. And... yeah, the actual excitement you see online, the AFORM is a huge supporter of the idea of a coalition if the election turns out that way. And I think that overall, it would be...
I'd say you get a lot more progress done in Canada if that were the case. Yeah. But I also don't like the idea of Scheer's prime minister, which he would, even though technically speaking he wouldn't have enough votes to pass legislation since he had the most seats, he'd probably say, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, he would be the prime minister, I guess technically, right? Mm-hmm. But he'd be a prime minister in name only, which I still just don't like that.
That would it would be unfortunate, but it would also be hysterical.
It'd be really funny.
And as far as legislation being passed, how much of a freaking disaster would it be if Mr. Scheer gets into office, Mr. Cut the Carbon Tax, and it's just a bunch of he's like. Here's the other problem, though, is if you actually look at really good, responsible left-wing and liberal economic policy, he would be able to take a lot of credit for that if it does work out. Like, if the deficit does get cut by really, tax raises and shit, who gets to take the credit?
I was in there to pass that budget. What do you mean all my MPs voted against it? But I'm still prime minister.
See, conservative politics works again. Give me the majority, everyone, and cut all of this shit.
Yeah. Next time around, I'm gunning for that majority.
Yeah, and we'll really see progress. Gets the majority, axes everything.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine?
I mean, we weren't that far away because Harper. It was really funny because Harper won minority governments twice in a row, and then he finally won a majority government in 2011 when the aforementioned Ignatieff took a tumble off a cliff.
Hey,
and then he went up,
Mr. Harvard, right?
And then he went up against Trudeau in 2015 after completing his first term as a majority government leader, and he lost. But not only did he lose, he lost his majority government to a different majority government.
The Uno reverse card. Right.
Well, I think that might do it for the first episode of Canadian Politics in View, guys. I look forward to more episodes in the near future. But until then, take care.
And